Hello, everyone. This is indeed Three Dudes One Zoom. It is
Terrible.
June 2nd, 2020. It is 8:43 for a lovely night edition of Two Dudes One Zoom tonight. Tank is busy working on cars, working at the track. I doubt he'll listen to this, so I think we can
Nah.
kind of say whatever we want. But we'll see. There is a 3-strike system. There's a strike 2 for Tank. Can we say that publicly?
I thought there were 3 strikes, no?
Did I say it? I meant this is strike 2, 3-strike. I didn't know what we were doing. We might have a new host next show. Basically, is what we're getting at. Is that who's yelling right now, Lil C?
My mom.
How's she doing?
I didn't know that you heard that. Doing all right. The whole family's doing good.
Glad to hear that.
As always.
So, as always, listen to us on Anchor.fm, Spotify, 3 Dudes One Zoom. Watch and listen on the YouTube channel, 3 Dudes One Zoom. Make sure you go to Twitter to look at our tweets from Little C. Keep you updated with the show and stuff at 3 Dudes One Zoom. Use the numbers on Twitter because handles can't be a certain length. This show's going to be a little different than normal. Normally, we have a whole list of sports topics that we'll get through. As my window starts buffering, I hope the internet doesn't go out. Doing this, that would suck.
Then it'll be One Dude, One Zoom.
And then Lil C will take it from here. But we're going to dive more, obviously, there's one story that's really affecting everything. If you turn on ESPN, you turn on CNN, you turn on Fox
other
News.
than Rona.
Rona got canceled by racism. That's I don't know. We all just stopped caring. This is just a complete side note. This will be kind of a political episode, kind of social, what's going on.
Episode. I mean, you don't have to be into politics to know what's
but I'm saying it might spear into that. So if you don't want to listen to that, to our millions of listeners, then you don't have to. Also, another thing, it's I understand that, even though we say millions of people listen to us, and the numbers tell us they do, not many people listen to us, even though we are growing because of Little C's efforts to grow us. But if you do have a platform of any kind, I feel like at a moment like this, you have to say something, even if one person hears it. So it's I'll just say things right now that I think Lil C and I both agree on. I don't want to put words in Lil C's mouth, but
go ahead.
Lil C's you can say whatever you want. I'll agree with you. No, it's what happened.
Only with NASCAR.
We're not talking NASCAR today. I don't like you. But it's what happened in Minnesota is terrible. It was horrible what happened to George Floyd. That is murder. There's no way around that. There's no one that can even justify it. That was a bad cop doing bad things. And obviously condolences to his family. And the one thing you hope for is that it sparks some kind of change in this country. Because I'll just use this example because that happened to me recently. I got pulled over for speeding and Lil C knocked that smirk off your face. But the cop came, I got
How many
pulled
times is this?
This is the second time that you know about. And but the cop got out of his car and he came to my window and I never once was uh-oh, this could be bad. I was just oh, it's a cop. And I grew up in with my family knowing cops and having family members that are cops.
Exactly.
Cops aren't scary, but it's to me as a white person. And it's something that definitely needs to change. And I'm not saying it needs to change where I need to become scared. It needs to be no matter whether you're white, black, or something. If you see a police officer,
you should feel safe.
Exactly. That should be oh, if something's going wrong, I want to go to him because he's going to help me.
He's going to protect you.
And that's why, to kind of get into today's events with the whole Blackout Tuesday thing on social media, it's a nice gesture, and I was going to do it, but then I didn't do it because the reason I was going to do it is I don't want to be seen as the racist person. I'm going to do it. But then I was if I'm going to do something like that, make a stand, I should do it because it can cause change, and I feel it can impact people, not because I don't want to be viewed as racist.
Yeah.
And exactly. I think Lil C and I played golf today, so we share the sentiment on that.
Yeah.
But you just hope it's these people that put up these black squares that start this voice, this talk, really take this opportunity to be the first step towards and causing real change in our society that needs to happen. Because there's a thing going around social media. It's I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it's so true. It's every other year, it feels like we go through another. Whether it's Ferguson, Baltimore, or now with Minnesota, it's the same thing, and it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, something
else. And it needs to change. Lil C, any thoughts before we dive any deeper?
Obviously, it's horrible and everything that happened. That, you said, that's murder. all the cops are guilty of it too that were right there standing watching them that didn't do anything. Obviously there's ways to bring change, and I believe that, like peaceful protesting is like all right, obviously, but then like once like you start like destroying people's businesses and stuff, that's where you draw the line. That's making them look bad. Um like yeah, I saw something where like there was a black man who like owned like a business that he's been working his whole life for, and then they like looted it and did
Yeah,
all that. Like that's wrong. Like like black, white, like whatever race you are, that's wrong. Like you can't really justify that.
absolutely. And one thing I feel like in the past, it's always, and I feel like this time it may be like we're actually, because of conversations that have already happened since the incident, it's used to be like, especially Ferguson, I felt like it was either you were on the Black Lives Matter side or the cop side, and there was no in between.
Mm.
And that one there was more gray area with the whole crime. Like this one's very obvious. Like that's
Yeah,
murder. I haven't met
yeah,
anyone who's been like, that was like the cop did the right thing. And that's probably why it's not like that. But I feel like people, you can be like, the cop murdered George Floyd. You can also believe most cops are good, honest, very good at what they do, people. And looting and rioting is bad and harmful for the country. And the message that you hope George Floyd's like
yeah, exactly.
unfortunate
Do you
death.
think he would want like that in his
Exactly.
community? Like,
And you never want anyone to die in vain. And I feel like if these protests and looting continue, then instead of people focusing on the message and these peaceful demonstrations happening and being encouraged, they're going to have to crack down just for public safety. And it's going to cause more race issues. Because
mhm.
let's be honest, if the army starts unloading into these protesters, not saying that's going to happen or likely to happen, but it's if you bring the army in, it becomes a real possibility.
Yeah,
That will make things worse. And these peaceful protesters, I think it like I've never protested once in my life, but what they need to do is every morning, as soon as like there's obviously curfews. I think it's from like 7 to 5 a.m. in most cities.
yeah,
6 a.m. You get out there and you just walk up and down every street you can. 7 p.m. you go home. You do that day after day, and it takes time. Like look at Dr. King. Like he ended up giving his life for the cause.
yeah.
But it's like you just year after year, day after day, take any milestone you can to create change. Get conversation going. Like I know there's a podcast, and if I get this wrong, I'm sorry. It's not a rival of ours, and I listened to it for the first time. The Breakfast Club,
What's that?
which was Charlemagne the God.
Oh,
I
I
don't.
thought when you said rival, I thought you were giving a shout out to our boy Liam Grennan.
Oh no, I haven't. I'm not going there. But it's like a real podcast. Not to say this. This is a very real podcast.
Oh, that's like on the what channel is it on the radio? Like 97.1, right?
I don't know. Is it a Hot 97 show? I'm not sure,
I
but it's definitely a show that focuses more on Black Lives Matter issues, left leaning.
yeah.
It politically, I'm talking. They do other stuff. They do music, but all the Democratic presidential nominees have gone on there to voice their things, all
Mhm.
that stuff. So it definitely leans left. I think that's something you can say without controversy. And it's a very good show. It's well made and all. It's very like you learn a lot listening to it. I listened to a couple episodes just like learning more about that because they had Rush Limbaugh on, who anyone knows him. And I grew up listening to Rush because my grandfather and just other like how I lean politically. Not that I
Mhm.
agree with everything Rush says, but I think he's very good at what he does. And someone who wants to have a career in radio, he's a guy you can learn a lot from like his talent more than what he says.
Yeah.
Um, they had both. Rush was on the Breakfast Club, so it's a right leaning, like very right leaning, radio host and a left leaning show, and they had a conversation. And I think that's something that's very important as the starting point of how to go next. It's like
How
you
did that
can't.
go?
I thought it was good. Obviously, Rush believes things very different than the
Mhm.
Breakfast Club,
And they
and
talked about this issue. Like,
yeah, it was like
did they
two
like
days
agree on
ago.
most things though? Because like,
Uh, on the fundamental, like basic intro things, like it was murder, stuff like that, they agreed on, and they got into the whole white privilege thing,
mhm.
which we're not gonna dive into because I think you can't have two white guys talking about white privilege
Yeah,
and be
exactly. Because we don't know the other side of it.
yeah, you can't have a realistic conversation on it. But obviously, Charlemagne the God being an African American and Rush being white, they had some, and Rush like disagrees with it for his reasons that he has, and they had it. It was a good back and forth. It was fairly civil the whole time, and that's what needs to happen. Even if, like, obviously you're going to get passionate about these issues, and your voice is going to get raised, but it's important that these talks just continue. And it's like because your people look up to these guys, and I'm sure the people that listen to Rush every day until now, never listened to the Breakfast Club. And people that listen to the Breakfast Club probably never listened to Rush Limbaugh.
Exactly.
It's important now. They're going to cross over a little bit, get engaged in conversation.
Diverse, yeah.
Exactly. Because these conversations from these people we listen to, now next time they run into someone who maybe aligns with more of a Rush or aligns more with a Breakfast Club, they're going to be able to like, oh, they talked about, let me talk to this person. And this dialogue is going to improve everything.
Especially like people with like that type of social platform, like those two especially, like they have a lot of listeners and stuff, so like people are gonna listen to like this show. Like say that Rush's fan are gonna listen to this show and they're also gonna hear the left side. So they'll be like, oh, like good point. Like it's just really important for people of that social platform to use like it to their advantage pretty much.
Absolutely, and it's this is guilty on both sides. A lot of people, if you're left leaning, you'll watch left leaning news, and you get this tunnel vision, and that's why 2016 when that happened, they're like, it's impossible for a Hillary supporter to see how you can vote for Trump, and how a Trump supporter looks at someone who voted for Hillary. It's like doesn't make sense. I think that's because we closed off our minds to the other side, and if you really look at them rationally, it's like, oh, they believe this, and that about their candidate, and this about the other side's candidate and vice versa, then you can understand, like, I see why you're voting for him. I still disagree with that, and I'm still going to vote for the guy I want. But I think that rational understanding is what allows these issues to be brought up. And so we don't have to, like, every time these conversations go up, we don't have to shy away from them. We'd be like, all right, let's talk about this. And obviously, like, there's a ways to go, and that's kind of a generic thing. It really doesn't point to, like, the Black Lives Matter issues that are, like, most paramount today. But I think it's important to just talk and let that talk be the start of change to come.
By the way, Jake Paul is a dirtbag. That dude is the scum of the earth. That dude should. I mean, how he's famous, I don't like. For him to like loot and but like, yeah, I mean, all looters obviously. Like, I don't agree with it, but like, especially him, like someone who. Like he's got like a lot of like kids following his stuff or whatever. Like he's just influencing like them. Like whatever he does has a big influence on them. And like seeing him loot, like obviously the kids aren't gonna go like, or I hope aren't gonna go break windows of like Targets and stuff like he did. But like still, you don't do that.
Yeah, like, absolutely. And I think he's the type of guy if something's trendy or it's like happening, he wants to get involved because that's gonna boost his.
Yeah, he had a camera in his hand and everything.
And he's just stupid. He's just very stupid. Go ahead.
I know that like obviously coronavirus like took a backseat to all this, but like what does like the government do if after all these protests or whatever, like there's no spike in cases? Do you reopen the country or like?
Well, there's going to be I would assume based off what we've been told by our government, which is funny. It's like this is like getting into politics a little bit more than I should. But it's like there's people that were like, listen to the government, and now they're like, government's the problem. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What side do you want me to believe? But if there's no spike, I think that definitely is like, all right, we can open up, and the plan goes forward. If there's a huge spike, I could see it taking a sit back.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll be honest. I hope people that riot, I don't want them to die. But if they got sick, I wouldn't be upset. I don't want the peaceful protesters getting sick. That's the last thing I would want. But the rioters, if they got sick, I'd be like, that sucks. This is another thing that's going to be a little controversial probably. There's the whole bail relief thing. And like Brooklyn, Minnesota has one where you can donate money and these people will go bail out people from jail who've been arrested and stuff. And I have no problem with that for people that peacefully protest. And I think that's a great thing. I think Dr. King would be very proud of. Who's someone a lot of people should try to emulate in these times. But if this money, and I don't know for certain, I was listening to Kirk Minahan earlier, yesterday or the day before, and I think he was kind of like insinuating, if this money's going to go bail out people that have set fires or vandalized businesses, then you need to donate your money elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I need to know for a fact that this is going to help people who are trying to create change, not people that are trying to take advantage. Because there's a video that's out on Twitter and other things, and how legit it is, I don't know. But it was out there, and no one seemed to be refuting it. There was a riot going on somewhere. I think maybe New York. It was when they were going nuts. And a Rolls Royce pulled in, and a bunch of people got out and ran into a store and grabbed stuff and jumped back in the Rolls Royce. And Rolls Royce is 6-figure cars. Like,
yeah, that's horrible.
They're just taking advantage of the situation. Those guys, if they get arrested, there needs to be something where they're not the ones getting bailed out. it needs to be the ones getting bailed out need to be the ones who were like they violate. Say the cop said leave the street, and they didn't. And it's like I understand bailing them out, like that's fine.
Yeah.
Even though like they did violate a dispersion order, which but people protesting, police order dispersion order. Even if you are peacefully protesting, you do have to leave. But you can always come back as soon as the dispersion order ends. So just it's better to fall back and then move back in than to stay there. And that's when people are going to start justifying doing something. If they see police start arresting these peaceful, which they are peaceful, then these non-peaceful people are going to come in and try to take advantage of that. I just hope, honestly, it's like you want the one thing that needs to happen with these protests is they protest. They clearly set things they want, and this can be changing. It's like as things like move along, we learn more about the case, about America, about all these issues.
I mean, no matter what, though, like what did he get what did George Floyd even get arrested for?
They believed he was using counterfeit $20 bill.
So they
cigarettes.
Jam their knee in his fucking neck. Like, when do you get taught that?
That's not taught.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying it's like cops better trained in those situations. And he was a bad cop. He had like 12 complaints against police brutality. He's not.
He's in jail. He's in suicide watch.
Yeah, well, most people that are on murder charges, I think, are.
Well,
I think that's like.
Still though, like.
Yeah. Yeah. And his wife divorced him.
I mean, fuck. Look what he did. Like.
Yeah, I mean,
too.
Half of that I think is that, and the other half is protecting assets for when he gets sued.
Oh,
you know,
gotcha.
But yeah. That's just logical speculation from what I've seen in the past.
Me and my friend Jacob yesterday were talking about it, and he brought up a good point where he told me, like, you know, obviously people were on edge with the coronavirus, like quarantine, like lasting as long as it did, and people were just so this was like the last straw for shit to go like that shit crazy, and like
for sure people,
you know, like people were
people were inside all this time, and now it's really nice weather too. It's like outside. The one thing, and I don't know why I just thought of this. I looked at my books and I saw a little pistol on one of the books, and it reminded me of this. But there's a stat I saw it on Twitter, Facebook.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know what stat this really. What stat do you think I'm thinking of?
Is it like what race is shot by cops the most?
No, well.
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking about.
It's close, same like.
Because that's what a lot of people like.
But it's
to the right, like point out.
That's insinuating I'm to the right, little C. That's insinuating I'm to the right, little C.
What do you mean?
You're just like people to the right point that out, and you're like, oh, I know what set he's gonna bring up.
No, I mean, I see it all over the place.
This is a stat. It's not right leaning or left leaning that's going on. It's something like I had the number wrong. It's over 1,000. It's like 1,019. It's just over 1,000 people were shot and killed, I think, by police officers last year, or something like that. And that's all the stat says. And it's like usually followed by like they need like this is like they're militaristic, the police or something like that needs to end. If you dive deeper into that stat, you'll find all but 41 were armed with a deadly weapon. And I think, sure, cops shoot and kill guy, but if that guy has a gun, I think the situation if you want to focus on the 41 unarmed people, all for that. What happened there? What caused that?
Yeah.
And if you go back,
keep going.
Oh,
keep going. No,
if you go back to like I think Daniel's his first name. His last name was Shaver. Who was a white guy that was killed in Arizona, I think, and it's all on video. And they slaughtered him. He was unarmed. If you want to focus on those cases of the 41, I think it's 41. I may be off a number too, and I apologize for not having it right on my hands. But these people, you need to focus. You can't like say 1,000 people got killed by cops, and then it's like, oh, but like 5% of them, and it's more than that. I had a gun or a knife or were threatening people. You know, that's a huge distinction. That's the job of police officers is to protect people in that case. So if you want to focus on I'll just stick with the 41 unarmed people, all for it. Let's review every single one of those cases and see what can change from that. But you cannot throw a number out there like that so carelessly without clarifying for people. Go ahead.
See, like, I was listening to Joe Rogan talk about it, who I've been listening to a lot because like I like his stuff and everything. But he like not trying like to justify what this cop did to George Floyd, obviously, but like, so this is like more towards the people who say like all cops are bad because obviously all cops aren't bad. You're gonna have some shady cops and bad cops, but like cops like say that like they have to make like life like changing decisions like that. Like
Hmm.
if someone like reaches like you have to like decide like what you're gonna do. Like if they're pulling people over, like you don't know who the guy is like in the front. Like the guy could just take out a gun like shoot. Like it's just like harder than what people make it out to be, I guess.
For sure. And one thing that kind of relates to that is right now the hardest job in the world, I don't care what anyone says, is a police officer. Because if you fumble once, you make one blunder, one mistake that you normally that under this pressure they're under right now, which is immense, they're going to be crucified. If a cop makes a mistake that like in normal times you could be like, all right, well, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I'm not excusing like wrong things.
Yeah.
Like if they do something wrong, it's wrong. I'm saying like say there's a protest, there's like instances all the time. Protester pushes a cop, he hits him, you know? It's like in the moment a riot's going on, you don't know what's happening. It's like that cop's going to be crucified. And maybe he should. It's like you have to investigate, and that's every cop incident like that has to be investigated thoroughly. But you cannot like dismiss how hard cops have it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. And that's why I think the people that are like, yeah, what happened to George Floyd was terrible. Black Lives Matter. This situation needs to improve. Also, I'm worried about cops in this situation, making
Mm-hmm.
sure they're safe. You can support Black Lives Matter and cops. It's not mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand because they're humans. And that's what we need to focus on here as people is everyone matters, no matter what race they are, no matter what job they have. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
needs to feel safe, and we need to work on as a country of getting closer to that.
Like even cops in like small towns and cities and stuff who like are far away from the George Floyd case, like they're still like they're gonna feel like pressured from everyone like in that town, like
Absolutely.
just for being a cop. And like like those people, like the cops, they risk their lives and their like families and stuff to go out and protect everyone. And like I just don't think like saying that all cops is bad is like a good thing like to really judge them by.
Absolutely. And like I know like I play in a softball league with a lot of cops. And I've met cops where I'm like, he's a dick. He's a
Yeah.
douche. And if it came out later like he had issues, it wouldn't surprise me. I've met cops where I'm like, you probably shouldn't be a cop. And playing
Mhm.
softball with them, there's one or two I can think of right off my head. I'm not going to throw names out there. That's not my place. But of the 120 other cops I play with, my entire softball team, outside of 4 people, is police officers in the surrounding cities. And it's
Yep.
not like little towns. It's Middletown, New York, Newburgh, New York, Port Jervis, legit cities. They're great guys, and they're amazing, and they have families, and their main goal every day is to get home to their families while keeping their home safe because they live in these towns too. It's not like
Mhm.
they want to go out there and cause problems with the community because their community, the people they work with, they're their neighbors, and that's what they're
Yeah.
focused on. So, like, obviously, uh, prayers for everyone involved in this, whether it be the
Yeah.
protesters, who you hope the protests continue and change happens, the police officers that they keep the protesters safe, and for justice to come for George Floyd, and whatever the right punishment is handed out.
Yeah.
Um, and you just hope for change. That's all you can do.
Now, obviously, we're a sports podcast. Can't talk right now, but we're a sports podcast,
Choke.
obviously. So, I saw J.R. Smith. Some guy was like messing with his car and shit, and he kicked the
Mhm.
shit out of the guy. Can't really blame J.R. Smith for that.
Yeah, that's the familiar stuff.
A lot of athletes are like obviously using their platform to like say stuff. In LA, I saw they didn't like they were like rioting and stuff, but they didn't touch like any of the Kobe stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
The one thing
so
I will
that's
bring up, it's like NBA. I think has done a great. I think all leagues have done a
well, the
really good.
Knicks are a disgrace. They said something. Hold on.
The
What did the
MSG
Knicks?
sent it out late. They handled it terrible. They handled
Yeah.
it like they handled the Knicks.
Uh-huh.
Just really bad and mismanaged. But I'm not even. That's not even worth my time. I just got an update that I sent out a follow-up email. James Dolan. Yeah. If you have to follow up condemning racism, you really mess that one up, Dolan.
Just a terrible organization.
But then with the Rangers, they're fine. I think the Rangers sent something out right away. Keandre
Well, I
Miller
mean,
did too.
yeah. Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, what did Tony D say? What did D'Angelo say? Has he said, because obviously
I
he
don't know.
is,
He's had previous issues and stuff.
yeah. But obviously you're not a wrestling fan, but there's like this huge issue with a wrestler in the WWE. He like tweeted out something about pro Trump or whatever. A lot of people are like getting on him. But no, like I don't know, people just need to get their shit, like this whole country needs to get their shit together.
That's a fact.
Solve this before like
one thing, it's like this. I feel like I don't like the guy. personally for his I don't like LeBron. Like, there's no doubt about that. I made that clear.
Just straight up.
I don't like him. I'm sure
Uh-huh.
he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I would say he's a good father, but he served his children alcohol, and they were obviously underage. So
Wait, does he?
they were. He said he gives his son wine for dinner, and his son was 13 at the time. That's not safe for his development. I'm just
Jeez.
kidding. That's a joke, by the way. But no, he did do that. But I'm not saying that makes him a bad father. Makes him a cool dad.
In that kid's eyes.
But
yeah.
I feel like this is like moments like this, and LeBron said some things in the past where it's like, wow, like I don't think he's gonna get a lot of widespread support for that because it's a little. But I thought he's doing a good job with this. They all tweet out.
Well, he has. I mean, he's like the biggest star, arguably.
And I'm just strictly African Americans. There may not Obama, who's like not a politician.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most important voices in the whole issue.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And he's someone that can definitely create change because there's a lot of little kids, not just black, white too, that look up to him. All races. Cody, who's been on this podcast, he's a big LeBron fan. It's a guy who can create change. Jordan sent out a statement. Derek Jeter, everyone sent out a statement.
Yeah.
They all say about the same thing, but it's good to hear. You need to hear these kids. Because these people are like, athletes shouldn't be their heroes, like kids' heroes. Too bad. They always are, and they're always going to be. It's like, if you can hit a ball really far, they're going to be their heroes. Because that's what they want to do.
Athletes are like everyone else. Like, you have your scum, obviously.
For sure.
Who, like, do all bad shit. But then you have, like, the ones who are, like obvious. Like, I know that you don't think that WWE is a sport. I know that Liam Grennan's probably gonna listen to this, and he doesn't agree either. But John Cena is like that's a role model to like kids and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I was talking to my dad. I think about this because he hates one of the wrestlers, The Rock. He doesn't like The Rock Johnson.
I mean, he's not. I consider him more of an actor than
my dad says he's a terrible actor. That's why he doesn't like him. But I think Cena, and I think the same with Tebow. Like guys like that. It's like you may disagree with their beliefs. But as someone how they handle themselves in public, how they act among others, how they treat the lowest guy in the totem pole the same way they treat the highest guy in the totem pole with the utmost respect. Those are the people that make a difference in this world. Those are the ones kids should look. I think Cena's one of the greatest. He's the best. I firmly believe he's the best thing that ever happened to WWE.
Ever?
Yeah. Look at today's world. He's the
WWE or wrestling.
WWE, like the brand. I'm not saying like what happens in the sport with championships and stuff. As a brand, like giving them a good name. Because there's been like the whole Hulk Hogan thing.
Oh, giving him a good name, 100%.
Like Hogan.
Because he does all the Make-A-Wish and stuff.
Exactly.
Well, Hogan's fucking shady too.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like if they didn't have Cena, that whole Hulk Hogan saga where he had his shocking Hulk Hogan's racist, by the way. Like, I think everyone knew that without even saying anything. It's like if they didn't have someone like Cena, who's just like the golden boy, like he's perfect. I love Cena. It's like that was been such a bigger story. It would have taken over. But then Cena comes along, and he's out there. He's cool. Every little kid in the crowd has their Cena shirt.
He's funny too.
He's a bad actor too, by the way.
Yeah,
he's not a good actor.
I know why
he was in one, and I think this is completely off topic. He's a bad actor because I'm so used to him as a wrestler that it's weird to see him in movies. But that's another thing. It's like guys like Cena. It's like excellent role models for kids.
Yeah, 100%.
I even think LeBron, and to some extent, of how he's like. I hate people that are like, shut up and dribble. You're the worst if you actually believe that. It's like these athletes have a voice that like they started dirt. I'm not saying all. I should take that back. There's a large chunk of athletes like LeBron who started off with very little, had nothing, worked their way up through their talent.
Yep.
To by 27 having oodles of money.
Yeah.
Instant fame and everything. LeBron by the time he was 16 was famous. Even by the time he was 28, he's known in every country in the world. It's like these are the guys we need to hear from.
Yeah, exactly.
They've experienced life. They've met these challenges, and now they can not only relate to the uber super rich, but that kid they were growing up, and their friends who they've helped out, but they still live in the communities. You know, they're the ones that can reach out. These politicians, that were millionaires when they were born and are billionaires now after years of public service and civic duty, which is a whole nother issue for a political podcast, how they get so rich. But it's like they can't relate to like little Johnny who lives down the street in a Section 8 housing with no father or no mother, either or, and his face just to work, just to try to survive, or doesn't know where the next meal from. They can't relate. But these athletes that come from that situation and make it big and give back to the community, those are the people that need to take a stand here, not these politicians and stuff. And that's my end of my anti-politician rant.
But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy what's going on in the world right now.
For sure.
But like 2020, man, it's just been rough year so far. We're not even halfway through. Like, just so much stuff has happened. I mean, murder hornets, you got Corona.
World War III almost happened.
Yeah,
that was February.
And now this. Like, it's just insane.
And hurricane season's coming up. So
yeah.
Get ready. But honest, we'll wrap up the show here. I know it's just two white 20-year-olds, but like hopefully people listen to this and find some change. Thank you all for listening. Special show Thursday where we get back to some lighthearted news and giving people some hope. Hopefully,
I don't know if it's lighthearted news.
Well, we're gonna talk. No, that's true. We're talking about a murder. So we're diving into a murder. It won't be lighthearted, but the entertainment value should be good.
Yeah. 100%.
Thank you all for listening. Hope you listen to us Thursday. Big show. Say goodbye, Corey.
Goodbye. Black Lives Matter too.
Amen to that.